Hey, look at me. I'm relevant to the news. North Korea, North Korea, North Korea. No, but, okay, so in South Korea you have billionaires. Completely filthy rich billionaires. And they have prostitution for rich people. So in this country, where they have billionaires and prostitution for rich people, they also have homeless people living on the streets. Prostitutes living on the streets. They have drug addicts. And they have a vast volume of poorly paid, like, slave workers that work in the factories and provide the food, and the labor class. And then the trades class, they're not treated much better. Their retirees are all screwed. They've got the biggest division, like, it's basically just like America, except it's very concentrated, so you can really see the division in these people. There's no equality whatsoever in South Korea. But in North Korea, it's a communist country where everyone is educated, everyone has jobs, and everyone has, like, a community. So granted, there's a lot of grief and strife from how much work that it actually requires to create that kind of equality and that kind of success in a country. Because if you want sustenance, if you want provisions, if you want sustainability, it actually takes work to create that, when otherwise it wasn't there. And in South Korea, like, oh, well, we've got sustainability and we've got an economy for a select few, and that was the expense of having hundreds of thousands of slave workers and tons of poverty and uneducation and diseducation and prostitution. They don't have that in North Korea. So that's why we have this militarized border, this demilitarized zone with an army on both sides, because North Korea is keeping out the South Koreans. Because the South Koreans and their foreign negotiations are just screwed. So obviously North Korea should denuclearize. They can blow themselves up. If there was warlords in the United States or in Japan, they could create a war and nukes would be going off, or just people will die in general. But does that mean that North Korea should change that its technical strategy, its approach, and its standards? No, not really, because Korea's actually created an actual communism, and in a very short period of time, if they denuclearize and if this war stops, then the entire regime can pretty much step down, and it would be like the first real communist country that anyone's seen in a really long time. And by really long time, I mean we've never seen one in like the last 100 years. So, I don't know, this sounds really good. And in the meantime, I have a lot of sympathy for how much grief North Korea had to put up with in order to create their sustainable economy in the face of all odds. And of course people die. And this is why I made the video. People die because when you're trying to release people from a system that doesn't cater to anyone except for tyrants, and you've got rebels coming out and they're causing you problems, and they're trying to tear down the government, and they're trying to just, they're completely senseless, they're uneducated, they don't know what they're doing, and the big part is they don't even have the communication skills to communicate with the government or with the community without creating hysteria and anxiety and incomplacency and malcontent. And they have no logical system that they're trying to replace it with. They have no initiative or no plan, no strategy whatsoever. They're just trying to take out the government. That's called a shit show. And that's when people come in, they come in with their billions of dollars as corporations, and they destroy the environment, and they enslave people by providing no other option, because without sustenance, the corporation comes in and removes any application of sustenance. So the corporation becomes the sustenance. So now the corporation's omnipotent. It's a monopoly. When there's no alternative solution, you can't create an alternative solution, because you need to harvest, you need to sow, you need to fast, or you starve. And you can't do that from square 15. You have to do that from square 1. So when that corporation sit there, it fucks everybody. So you end up with like these anarchists that are just trying to tear down the government. That doesn't work. And so, yeah, a few dumbass, worthless piece of shits get shot in the process of creating a sustainable economy, because otherwise, obviously they don't want to work. They don't want to contribute. They don't care. And clearly they don't think communication skills matter. Because if they thought communication skills matter, they could have filed a logical report and submitted it. And if it was logical, it would be accepted by any logical government. And if it wasn't logical, then why bother submitting it? So, yeah, people died in North Korea. People are dying on the streets of South Korea.